there guys, in this video we're going to cover some problems from your Unit 8 review, in particular problems that cover multiplying polynomials. So a lot of times you'll see a binomial times a binomial. That means you'll have a two-termed expression times a two-termed expression. So we have two different ways to solve these, which is the box method or double distribution. Whichever you prefer you can use. I'll be using them interchangeably. So sometimes I'll solve it with box, sometimes I'll solve it with double distribution, just so you can see both methods of solving multiplying with polynomials. So for the first problem, I have m plus 5 times the binomial m plus 5. For this one, I'm going to start by using double distribution. So I'm going to distribute the m from the first parentheses to the m in the second parentheses. So I know m times m is going to give me m squared, because I'm multiplying the same thing by itself twice, and m times 5, which is 5m. Now it's called double distribution because we are also going to distribute the second term in our first parentheses, which is this plus 5. So positive 5 times m is also a positive 5m. And then positive 5 times 5 is a positive 25. Now, do not leave your answer like this. You want always to have simplest form, which is to say, if you can combine like terms, combine like terms. So notice we have a 5m and a 5m, which can be combined. So I'm going to combine this 5m with this 5m. Now, they cannot combine with this m squared. Although they have the same variable, they have to have the same variable and same exponent for them to be able to combine. So when I combine these, this will give me 10m, and just a regular m, since we're not multiplying, we're just adding. So 5 plus 5 is 10, keep the m, and I will drop down the rest of my terms. So I'm going to drop down that 25, since nothing got added to it, as well as that positive m squared, since nothing got added to it. So the answer you should get for number 1 is m squared plus 10m plus 25. So this is known as double distribution. Now you can solve number 4 similarly using also double distribution, but we also have something called the box method, which is to say you're going to draw a 2 by 2 box. And by 2 by 2, I mean 2 rows and 2 columns. And on the outside of your box, we're going to put these parentheses. Now my first parentheses I'm going to put at the top, my 3x minus 4. So 3x minus 4. And on the side, I'm going to write my second one, 3x plus 4, which will just end up being a positive 4. So same idea that we're doing here, but some people like this one better because it keeps them more organized. So it's still the same idea that we're still multiplying. So I'm still going to do a 3x times a 3x. So notice if you had done double distribution, we would still have 3x times 3x. So 3x times 3x is going to give you, well, 3 times 3 is 9. X times x is x squared. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared. Next, I'm going to multiply negative 4 times 3x, which is going to give me negative 12x. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. This has an x, so I keep the x. Similarly, here I have 3x times positive 4. So that's a positive 12x. And then finally here, I see I have a negative 4 times a positive 4, which is a negative 16. Notice, like I said, you still get the same values as if you were double distributing. We still did 3 times 3, the 3 times 4, which was here, the negative 4 times 3, which is here, and the negative 4 times 4, which is negative 16. So both methods will give you the same answer. You just decide which one makes most sense to you. So before we finish our problem, we're going to take each individual square inside our box and write it out. So I have my 9x squared, my negative 12x, my positive 12x, and my negative 16. And similarly to what I did last time, I'm going to combine any like terms that I see. In this case, I have a negative 12x and a positive 12x. Since they both have an x, same variable, same exponent, I can combine them. Except in this case, negative 12 plus 12 is 0. It's 0x, which cancels out, so I don't have to write it. So I'm just going to write 9x squared, and I'm going to bring down my minus 16. Be careful with your signs. Now, you could write plus 0x, but it's redundant. Anything times 0 is itself. So in fact, we'll leave our answer as 9x squared minus 16. So that is problems 1 and 4, both multiplying. The next multiplying problem in your review is number 9a. So be careful with number 9. You have two different instances in number 9. In number 9, for part A, it asks you to find the area, and part B, it asks you to find the perimeter. These are two different problems. Area will ask you to do length times width, which means it's a multiplying polynomial question, and perimeter is adding all your sides together, so that is an adding, subtracting polynomial problem. So since we're doing the multiplying polynomials, we're going to do only part A. In a different video, you'll see 9b. So to start this problem off, since we're going to find the area, I'm going to multiply my polynomials. So I'm going to write my polynomials so that they can be multiplied. So 5x plus 4 multiplied by 4x minus 4. So this is the way or the notation to show that I am multiplying these two polynomials. And once again, you can use double distribution, you can use the box method, whichever way you prefer. I'm going to use the box method again. So I'm going to draw a 2 by 2 box. And 5x plus 4, 4x minus 4. So all I did was I took my first parentheses and wrote it on the top of my box, took my second parentheses and wrote it on the side. Now I will start multiplying. 5x times 4x, well 5 times 4 is 20, and I know that x times x is x squared. Here I'm going to have 4 times 4x. Well, 4 times 4x is positive 16x. 5x times negative 4 will give you negative 20x, because 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Keep the x. Finally, 4 times negative 4, which is negative 16. So I'll write out my expression, 20x squared plus 16x minus 20x minus 16. We have to do this step because, remember, two of these will combine. So two of these are like terms. In which case, it usually ends up being your middle terms, the 16x and the negative 20x. Now make sure you're not forgetting x's. One of the most common errors that I see students make is they'll do 5x times negative 4 and they'll only write negative 20. So then they try to combine a negative 20 and the negative 16. Make sure that you are not forgetting any x's. Similarly, some students will say 4x times 5x. They'll get the 20 and they'll write their x, but then they won't write the x squared. So then they end up combining with the incorrect term. For these type of problems, you will usually have one term that has an x squared, two terms that have an x, and one term that has no x's. It is just a constant. But we'll finish this problem out. So we have a positive 16 minus a 20x, which is a negative 4x. And I can bring everything else down. Negative 16 and my 20x squared, which is my answer, 20x squared minus 4x minus 16. And remember to have your answers in standard form, which just means that you have to write your number x, then your number with just an x, and your number without an x. X squared, x, no x. This is standard form. Like I said, part B will be solved in a different section of your videos. So we're going to move on to example 12. Now for all the examples we've been doing so far when we're multiplying polynomials, we always see we have two parentheses, which is nice when we're doing the box method or when we're doing double distribution. In this case, we only have a parentheses. However, we have that parentheses squared. Keep in mind that when you're squaring something, you're multiplying the same term by itself. So what this is really telling you is we're going to multiply h plus 12 by itself, which is another h plus 12. So another way you can read this is write this parentheses twice. H plus 12 times h plus 12. Once again, you can use the box method, you can use double distribution. Just so I show a little bit of both, this one I'll solve using double distribution. So we'll have h times h, which is h squared. H times 12, which is positive 12h. The double distribution part, so now I have to distribute the 12. Positive 12 times h, which is another positive 12h. And then positive 12 times positive 12, which is 144. Combine my like terms, if I have any. In this case, I do. I have a 12h and a 12h here in the middle, which will combine to be 24h because 12 plus 12 is 24. I bring down the rest of my terms, so I'm going to bring down my 144, as well as this h squared. And don't forget to put plus. A lot of times students will leave it blank, so they'll have a h squared blank 24h. If the 24 is positive and it's in between two terms, you still want to put the plus. And that's your answer, h squared plus 24h plus 144. Your next multiply problem that is on your review is problem 17. On problem 17, you have to multiply the binomial 6x minus 9 times the binomial 5x minus 7. So you can use double distribution, you can use the box method, whichever you prefer. I'm going to use the box method this time. So 6x minus 9, 5x minus 7. And same thing as if you were doing double distribution, we're going to start by doing 6x times 5x. 6 times 5 is 30. Do not just leave it 30x. X times x is x squared. Negative 9 times 5x. Well, I know that. Negative 9 times 5 is negative 45. Once again, do not just leave it as negative 45. There is an x, so it should be negative 45x. So be careful when you're filling in your box or when you're doing double distribution that you don't forget to write an x squared or an x. In this case, 6x times negative 7 is negative 42x. 6 times negative 7 is negative 42, and we need to bring down that x. For our last case, we have negative 9 times negative 7. Negative times negative will be a positive, and 7 times 9 is a 63. In this case, I don't need an x because neither the 9 nor the negative 7 have an x. So I'm going to write out my terms. 30x squared minus 45x minus 42x plus 63. And I'm going to combine my like terms, the negative 45x and the negative 42x. Once you do enough of these problems, you start seeing the pattern that it's usually the middle terms that you end up combining. So if you don't end up combining the middle terms, that might be a hint that you might have done something wrong. So that's going to give you negative 87x. Don't forget your x. And we bring down everything else. The plus 63 and the 30x squared. Now that I've combined like terms, that is my final answer. So those are all the multiplying problems on your Unit 8 review. Make sure you are ready for your Unit 8 test. If you need to come in for tutoring for extra help, feel free to do so. Otherwise, have a nice day.